Hey guys, this is Barrett from Gratitude Education and freeSalonEducation.com. Today I'm going to be bringing you my inspired upstyle. It's inspired by a little bit of a flower or a rose technique, and I'm going to be showing you how to do it without using any hot tools on it. I think that's really important, that you don't have to always go in and curl the hair. I think it's something fun and easy that we're going to show right now with the blow dry. We're going to be using the freestyle blow dry system right now, just to go through and make our round brush a little bit easier on our model Sam. You're gonna see me go through and section on a slight diagonal. And when I round brush, I really just like to pull out. I like to make sure that we're smoothing at the cuticle. I think that's very important to still wanna smooth the hair and give it a little bit of volume, because then you're gonna have to go back in and do just that much more work, and that's when you have to go back in half the time with a curling iron. And you can see me unwrap that curl right there. That's just a technique that I like to use before I go up and set the whole section into a pin curl. In going through and doing this set, it's just gonna help keep some of the volume that I want in the hair, so I don't have to go through and tease it and do too much work with it. I like to flip it over back and forth. Again, using the freestyle blow dry system, just to make it nice and smooth, and then spraying it with a lightweight working spray. More of a dry spray just to set in that in the curls into the set. You always want to take out the first curl that you put in, whether it be with a curling iron or a round brush set, just because that's the one that's curled the most, so it's kind of cooled down a little bit and set that curl in. So now you're going to see me go through and take 3 different sections. We're going to start in the middle of the section, almost making a little bit of a rectangle, making sure it's nice and smooth, spraying it again. And I'm going to use my technique that you may have seen me do in some other of our upstyle videos, using 2 bobby pins and an elastic. You tuck in that bobby pin into the top, and then you wrap the elastic around with the other bobby pin and just secure the bobby pins in a crisscross position. It really helps lock it in and without having any bumps in the hair. This is going to give a really nice base for this upstyle. This is almost like the bud of the flower. It's almost like a rose that we're trying to form right now with the hair. So you're sculpting the hair, which is why I needed a little bit of volume, a little bit of curl in it from the round brush. But right now I'm just taking hairpins to set in where I really want that base to live. Making sure we're tucking under the last section of this ponytail with a bobby pin. The rest of it we did use hairpins with. Hairpins are really good for a style like this because if you're sculpting the hair, then you want to make sure that it's very pliable and very easy to move. Sometimes when you put in with a bobby pin, it's not necessarily easiest to move. If you want to go in after the fact and put a bobby pin in place of the hairpin, you can remove the hairpin and then replace it with your bobby pin. But that last section that we just did with the base is going to be the most important part of this upstyle, because you really want to make sure it's secure, and that is the base of it. So you want to be able to see the start of the flower and form each section and sculpt each section around that base. I was really inspired to do this by just seeing pictures of flowers and seeing that a lot of women are coming in really wanting something fun and something different. But this is still keeping it very classic. It's nothing, you know, too spiky or too curly. It's just very sleek in the front is going to be our end result, and then with a fun little flower effect in the back. And this is something you could add the blow dry into your style, either whether it be an hour, you could add it into your styling price as well, that you could set it in with the blow dry to put in a little bit of curl, a little bit of volume. And now going through and just taking the rest of that middle section, and you're going to see that we're going to crisscross it over to the other side to start to form the petals of the flower. The whole time I'm doing this up style, I'm going through alternating with a working spray and a little bit of a heavier spray. Once I get the section in the position that I want it to be, I go in with the heavier spray to lock it in. It's almost a folding technique that I'm doing. Once I sculpt the hair into that position, then I'm folding the rest of it under. Similar to what you would do with folding in a chignon. And this style can be done in a variety of smaller, larger. It's really to your eye of what that person wants for the style. But I think doing one big, beautiful flower effect in the back gives it the height, gives it the volume without giving it a piecier effect, more contemporary. So you can make a traditional style contemporary and a contemporary style traditional with this type of look. Always making sure that you're tucking in the end of each section to go underneath. If you see any stray hairs within the section, just tucking them in with a hairpin, and you're seeing that I'm pulling some of those sections out while I'm doing it. That's just helping me form the petals even more. If you want them to be more pronounced, you can pull them out a little bit more. If you want them to be a little bit more subdued, then you can also leave them where they are or tuck them in a little bit more. Now moving on to that bottom section. And you can go either way with it. I started wrapping to the right hand side, so I'm gonna alternate right to left, making sure that we have all those little baby hairs, using a hairpin at the top of it, because we have that base with the ponytail from the middle. So now we can just hairpin that bottom section in to secure it and make sure that we have the nice petal effect that we wanted. Moving to our last section. We're gonna split this section into two, just so that we have a little bit more of the crisscross effect. I'm using my teasing comb you're gonna see during this entire up style. You could use a comb if you wanted to. I would just suggest using more of a boar bristle or a teasing comb like this, just so that you have the smoothness and the sleekness on the top of the up style. And there we go, we're gonna crisscross the other side, almost mimicking what we just did on the right side. We're now gonna go to the left, making sure it's brushed out nicely. But see how we have that bend at the end of this section? We didn't even have to go through and curl it. We didn't have to do anything with a hot tool. We're just going through and pinning it nicely to where it lies. Now we're gonna take down that last section. Always spraying your hairspray in the direction that the cuticle's going. If you're gonna brush backwards, you wanna make sure you're spraying backwards. As a stylist, I would maybe step to the side so you're not spraying it in your hair, or as you're spraying it in their hair, you're not spraying it right towards your face. So I would step to the side as a stylist, spray it in the direction the cuticle's laying so you're not blowing the cuticle out if you want that smooth, sleek look. And you can see I sectioned this, and I'm taking down each section as it goes, as we're gonna crisscross them against the back. I did set these in a slight diagonal because I want them to be able to have a little bit of lift without going through and giving them a tease at all. So if you set something in a blow dry or with a hot tool in a different opposite direction, and then you go to put it or sculpt it as we're doing in this style in the opposite direction, it's gonna give it that lift and that volume that you needed, like I said, without using any teasing. We have a lot of clients come in the salon that really don't want you to tease their hair and put a lot of work into it. So this is something that's a very easy technique you can use in many styles, just setting it in the opposite direction that it's gonna live. Again, moving to the opposite side. And as you saw before, I did leave the front sections completely pinned up until I got to that section. I wanted it to cool in the curl as much as possible. And it also helped because then it was not in the way of me forming the petals in the back of the hair. Using a hairpin to tuck in those ends. If you wanted a little bit more volume, you could crisscross these a little bit more over the top section. I didn't want a crazy amount of volume in this. I really wanted it focused on the back of the hairstyle. Now we're gonna go through and make sure that we don't have that line of separation in between each sectioning on the sides right here. So I'm gonna brush it out a little bit right now and make sure that we have none of the parting that we did from the set in there. There we go, using the tail of a comb, tail of my teasing brush, just to make sure it's nice and sleek. Going to the opposite section that it's on. And then again, going back and forth, going to the left side of the head now. And we're gonna crisscross that one to the opposite side. You always wanna make sure that when you are using hairpins and bobby pins, that they are to a similar color of your guest's hair. You don't, in an up style of any form, you really want to make sure that you don't see those bobby pins or those hairpins or any clips or combs that you're using in the finished style. You want to make it look very seamless, like it's just kind of floating on their head. Now we're going through with a little bit of that heavier spray, just because we're at our last section. Brushing straight back because I do want a little bit of that volume. And you saw me when I set it, I did set it in a part, but now because we're taking it straight back just as we did the side sections, it's going to have a little bit of volume without even going through and putting the tease in the hair. I'm sculpting it a little bit to the right hand side. You can sculpt it straight back, you can sculpt it to the left, the right, whichever direction you want the final piece of hair to go in is the direction I would sculpt the front hair in. I like to use the tail end of my brush just to make sure the flyaways and that any little pieces are set in to that style so nothing's sticking out. So we have the symmetry on each side. Tucking in that last section right now. As a stylist, I would step back and see if there's anything you want to change about it, anything you want to pull out. Giving it a final spray right now. Looking at the front of it, making sure that you have the symmetry in the front that you have in the back. And there's our final flower-inspired rose style on our model, Sammy. Log on to freeSalonEducation.com to check out more of our videos. And thank you for watching.